Okay, so let's proceed ahead with the group discussion. And group discussion, we have three components here. One component is introduction, then there's a body part, and then there's a conclusion. Now, there's a structure always in the introduction part, and in the body part, there's a structure, and then there's a structure in the conclusion also, and then you need to know that structure. So introduction is always a couple of lines which you have to stick to, and then you have to talk a little bit about the topic. You have to give some kind of direction to the discussion. So what is most important in the introduction is you follow a couple of lines which we already know, and then you tell something about the topic. Something about the topic means where you tell others that in which direction discussion should be done. आप बाकियों को बताओ कि डिस्कशन हम ऐसा करना चाहते हैं. Maybe you can define the topic, maybe you can give the classification or categorization, and maybe you can tell the people that okay, these are the domains in which we should talk. Then open the house for discussion, and then you participate and you keep on discussing with others, and then conclude on behalf of the entire group. In today's discussion, I'll give chance to each one of you to introduce for the practice, but in actual GD, maybe only one fellow gets the chance, and then conclusion, I'll give chance only to one fellow. So if you are interested to conclude, then keep jotting down the points being discussed, so that in the conclusion, you are in position to tell on behalf of entire group, not only on the basis of your inputs, but on behalf of entire group. The topic which I am going to give you today, that topic is one of the very, very important topic in domain in itself. And if you are seriously preparing for GDs, then make one thing that keep noting down the important topics and keep gathering the information about that. All the GDs which we are doing here, they will be uploaded on YouTube for your reference, for your self-analysis, where you can do your self-analysis. Okay, this is what I'm doing and this is how I'm talking. So that part you should basically learn from your videos. So participating here, seeing the video, your contribution in that, and then listening to the topic and my inputs to the topic for the knowledge gathering. That is how you have to basically proceed forward. So let me give you the topic name now. Lack of opposition in democracy makes government autocratic. Lack of opposition in democracy makes government autocratic. I have written this topic and sent to you also. Lack of opposition in democracy makes the government autocratic. So I give you 1 minute to think, then we can proceed with the discussion. Okay, so I think we can start with Nikhil. Nikhil, please introduce the topic to the group.
Good evening, sir, and good evening to all the fellow members present for the GD. So I would like to thank sir for giving me this opportunity to
You're not
introduce the
audible,
topic.
Nikhil. Can you make sure you are audible properly?
Hello, am I audible now, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I would like to thank sir for giving me the opportunity to introduce the panel about the topic. The topic which we have got is the lack of opposition in democracy makes the government autocratic. So the topic is kind of a universal truth in democracy scenarios, and it is also very relevant in current India's politics also, because uh, a proper opposition party maintains a checks and balances on the working of the government. And since we know that autocracy means the government starts taking decisions in its own selfishness, means the government does whatever it does and it doesn't listen. So generally this happens when a single party is having a very large majority. So as we also know, democracy has two pillars, both the opposition and ruling party are equally important. So this is how the topic gets more interesting, and I guess we will be having a sound discussion on this. So I would like to finalize my introduction for this. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Bhupender. Unmute, Bhupender.
Good evening, friends. I'm glad to start the discussion. The topic, friends, given to us is that lack of opposition makes a government autocratic. So I find this topic very relevant in the current scenario, and it is quite interesting. It can be observed in our time, at the present time. In my opinion, in a democracy, if democracy is when there is a government and then opposition is also there. Opposition makes a government work, that can criticize the government, that can make the government work, that can cooperate with the government to implement the policies and like that. But what if there is no opposition? What happens when there is no opposition? What will happen when, why we need an opposition? Let us discuss that, why we need an opposition, what opposition makes to the government, so that government doesn't become autocratic. And let us discuss on these things, that what will happen when if the government becomes autocratic. So I open the table for the discussion, and I invite all of you to participate in the discussion.
Okay, Shubham.
Good evening, friends. My name is Shubham Kumar. So, I take this opportunity to initiate the discussion on the topic of lack of opposition in democracy makes government autocratic. ये टॉपिक काफी अभी करंट रेलेवेंस में काफी इंपॉर्टेंट हो चुका है. इस टॉपिक का मतलब ये है कि एक सरकार और उसी का पूरा रूल और उसी का पूरा एक रूलिंग होना एक कंट्री पे. ऑपोजिशन का काम क्या होता है? ऑपोजिशन का दो काम है. इसका काम बस है कि क्रिटिक्स करना, और क्रिटिक्स दो तरह के हो गए, कि पॉजिटिव वे में और नेगेटिव वे में. पॉजिटिव वे में इस वे में कि जैसे कि कोई सरकार अपने रूल्स बनाए तो उसमें लूपहोल्स निकालना, कि उसमें और क्या बेनिफिट्स हो सकते थे लोगों को, वो बताना, वो काम हो गया एक ऑपोजिशन का. नेगेटिव वे में ये कि कुछ भी रूल्स बनाए हैं उसके बीच में कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स क्रिएट करना और दंगे फसाद क्रिएट करवा देना. तो let's open this discussion and talk more about this. So I invite all to participate into this discussion.
Okay, now Randhir.
Yes, sir.
Randhir, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Good evening, friends. Today we are having a very good topic for the discussion. The topic name is opposition. Lack of opposition in democracy makes the government autocratic. Since the topic itself defines what we are here to participate in this discussion. Since there are two pillars for the democracy. One pillar is for the ruling parties, and the other for is the opposition parties. And if the opposition parties will not be there, so the government, the ruling party, will make any decisions that may or may not be in the favorable condition for the for their peoples. So opposition parties plays a very good role for the making the decision in a very good manner, that will help in the that will help for the peoples for their countries. So I would like to invite all my fellow friends to participate in this discussion.
Yeah, Rajni, can you proceed ahead?
Good evening, everyone. I am Rajni Maran. I am glad to introduce the topic for today's debate, and let me give light on the topic, which is lack of opposition in democracy makes the government autocratic. Now, starting from the word democracy itself means democracy means for the people, by the people, of the people. If this autocratic word comes, the definition of democracy automatically finishes. So it is very important that the opinion of several people has to come up for making one decision for the entire country. And opposing any decision, while making any topic, it makes that decision more stronger, because all the loopholes are extracted while opposing that decision. So it's very important opposing making our position and contributing ourselves to make that decision more important. Giving this words, I'll open up the house for further discussion.
Yeah, Deepti.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. The topic today given us related to very current relevance topic, that is lack of opposition make the government autocratic. किसी भी डेमोक्रेसी में होता क्या है कि दो पार्टीज होती हैं, एक अपोजिशन पार्टी और एक रूलिंग पार्टी. तो अब अगर अपोजिशन का लैक होगा तो होगा क्या, जो रूलिंग पार्टी केवल सिंगल डायरेक्शन में काम करेगी और पता ही नहीं चलेगा कि रूलिंग पार्टी जो कर रही है, जो भी काम कर रही है, तो लोगों को उससे बेनिफिट्स मिल रहे हैं या नहीं मिल रहे हैं. अगर अपोजिशन नहीं होगा तो रूलिंग पार्टी का वीकनेसेस नहीं पता लगेगा, और एक तरह से हम बोल सकते हैं कि अपोजिशन पार्टी गार्जियन ऑफ द रूलिंग पार्टी है और उसे समय समय पे याद दिलाती रहती है उसकी ड्यूटीज. नाउ आई इनवाइट ऑल ऑफ द पीपल टू डिस्कस.
Okay, I think everybody is spoken except Realme Narjo.
Yes,
Realme Narjo, what is your name?
Sorry, sir. Actually, I didn't rename my name. My name is Prabhu Ranjan.
Prabhu, huh?
Yes, sir.
So Prabhu, आप start कीजिए अभी.
Okay, sir. Thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity. The topic lack of opposition in democracy makes the government autocratic is very interesting topic in the India, because in India our country is democracy country. There is two main body in our nation, that is a ruling party and opposition. So we know that sometimes a single body can't make good decision, good policy for the peoples. Like if we are talking about ruling party is doing everything, so they are not considering the opposition's decisions and suggestions for the peoples. So sometimes if opposition is not strong in their place, then ruling party is whatever they are doing according what they made the rules, schemes for the people, that are not always true for that are always not good for the peoples. So to correct this, opposition has a very important role for in this scenario. So we are going to discuss healthy discuss on this topic with my fellow mates. Thank you.
Okay. So I think everybody has spoken now. Introduction everybody has given. Now we are entering into the second part, which is discussion among all of you. Please unmute each one of you. This entire session will be for 10 to 15 minutes, in which you will listen to others, give your points. After 10 to 15 minutes, I'll ask one of you can conclude the entire discussion. Make sure you participate constructively in the discussion by giving your points, listening to the points of others, and at the end we reach out to some really good, fruitful, discussion for the conclusion. Now, please go ahead with the discussion. Rajni, please unmute yourself.
So hello all. I would like to initiate the discussion by talking about what exactly opposition means, starting from its definition and its need. So as we all know, in a democracy, people elect the government, and the one which is in majority is able to form the government, and the other party is able to sit in the opposition. So this is the basic structure of opposition in any democracy. And now we come to the part that how this opposition party that is relevant in a democracy. So in a democracy, as I said, that the government which is elected by the people, it is responsible for making all the laws and all the policies in the interests of the public. And here comes the role of opposition party, in which what they do, they maintain a kind of check, or as mentioned by Deepthi also, that they are also a kind of guardian of the ruling party. So they judge the policy or the law which is enacted by the ruling party. So by that way, they maintain a check, and they serve a purpose of like creating awareness among the people also. Means, or I should put it in other words, that the opposition party, it's duty to bring among the public, because the ruling party can, let's say, it can boast its even smallest of the policy, but the opposition has its role in bringing out the loopholes of any policy and exactly explaining the true sense of any policy. So this was my idea about the opposition.
Okay, I would like to state one line that is pretty common in that we hear in into studies of our platforms, that if you're first in your class, you're in the wrong class. So making an opposition gives us the ruling party has a competition, because each party has to show to the public that who is the better and who will bring more justice and more better policies into their country. So having an opposition, they are always at a pace of like कि कौन better perform करेगा और कौन better अपने आप को public के सामने दिखाएगा. तो opposition का role बहुत important हो जाता है इसमें. एक reality check provide कर देता है एक ruling party के नजरिए में कि हमें कहाँ किस direction में जाना है और इनसे better perform करना है.
या राइटली मेंशन शुभम, आपकी बात से मैं सहमत हूँ जो आपने कहा कंपटीशन वाली बात. तो ये मैं भी यहाँ पे इस पॉइंट को आगे एक्सटेंड करना चाहूँगा कि इन अ डेमोक्रेसी, लाइक इफ देयर इज अ स्ट्रॉन्ग ऑपोजिशन, अगर जो विरोध वाली पार्टी है, अगर वो एक अच्छी पार्टी है, देन इट गिव्स अ टफ कंपटीशन टू द गवर्नमेंट इन रूलिंग पार्टी, बिकॉज in democracy, as we know, there are going to be elections in the next 10 years. So if the opposition party is working aptly, it will be noticing and it will be analyzing all the working of the government, so that it can then put the focus, or it can emphasize the loopholes in the policies of the ruling party at the next election time.
एज एन एग्जाम्पल, जो अभी हमारे इंडिया में करंटली यही हो रहा है कि हमारे जॉब्स काफ़ी कम हो गए हैं, हमारे इसमें इन्फ्लेशन बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ चुकी हैं. तो हमारी ऑपोजिशंस बेटर तरीके बता रही हैं कि कैसे ये सब को चीज़ों को ठीक किया जा सकता है. क्योंकि अभी सिंस इंडिया एक ऐसी कंट्री है जहाँ पे करप्शन थोड़ा ज़्यादा पीक पे रहता है, तो ऐसी चीज़ों में अगर ऑपोजिशन रहती है तो वो बताती रहती है कि कहाँ पे कुछ ऐसे फैक्टर्स है जहाँ पे करप्शंस हो सकते हैं, और वहाँ पे लोगों की ध्यान आकर्षित करता है कि हाँ यहाँ पे आप तो ध्यान दो, जैसे कि टैक्सेस पे करना है आपको, यहाँ पे आप ध्यान दो कि कुछ गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर्स पे करप्शन होता है, तो आप बताइए हमें, आरटीआई फाइल करिए, जानिए कि क्या हो रहा है. तो ऑपोजिशन बहुत अच्छे से रियलिटी चेक प्रोवाइड करा देती है.
I agree with Shubham that when there is a government and when there is a opposition to the government, they reveal what their secrets, their mistakes, their bad things, their loopholes. So they play a very important role. But when they are not present there, so what government do is government starts becoming dictatorship. Opposition is very much required, but if it won't be there, they will be they start dictating that they are making their own policies. They'll pass laws, they will pass their bills and make laws, and slowly they will become autocratic.
Prabhu, please unmute yourself, Prabhu.
I would like to add some more points in these discussions. Like everyone has discussed what the democracy means. I would like to add what type of oppositions mean. There are single party system in the opposition, and there are multi-party system in opposition. So in India, like countries, there are multi opposition parties are there in the system, and they elect a leader from there so that they can check for the government what the ruling party is doing. In the Western parties, there are two party system, and the single party is in the oppositions. So oppositions are very much important in the democracy, but the access but sometimes the opposition parties uh, uh, oppose the current government policies that are very good for the people for their country, but for their sake of wellness they oppose the current government. So these things also happen in the democracy for the sake of their welfare.
Uh,
Opposition party is nothing but a voice of a citizen of India. People who are individually are not able to come. A leader from our opposition party comes and speaking on behalf of the entire citizens of India. Now, whether it may be against the decision or in favor of decision, but these opposition party help in nurturing the decision, whichever or policy, whichever or means anything which are taken by the government. It extracts the loopholes. It come up with the opinion of the opinion which is more filtered, and after that if these opposition parties are not there, then there will be a chances of monopoly, and if monopolies come, this word democracy is almost gone. No use of democracy in such things.
you, Rajni. And I would like to add two more points, that opposition is one who who makes or puts your point in the parliament, that people's grievances. Opposition is the one who puts them in there in the parliament or in front of the government. So if it won't be there, people's grievances won't be addressed. So it is very much required.
I
The
agree
second
with
thing is yeah.
please so I agree with Bhupender कि जैसे कि अभी रशिया यूक्रेन वॉर काफी ज्यादा हाई हीट पे था और फ्यूल प्राइसेस काफी इंक्रीज हुए थे, तो अपोजिशन पार्टी ने ये बात रखी थी कि फ्यूल प्राइसेस काफी बढ़ चुके हैं और कॉमन पीपल को काफी दिक्कतें हो रही हैं. तो इससे हमारे कुछ फैक्ट्स भी जैसे हमारे मिनिस्टर ऑफ पेट्रोलियम ने क्लियर किए थे कि हाई फ्यूल प्राइसेस हमारे इंडिया में 5% बस इंक्रीज हुए हैं, भले ही दूसरे कंट्रीज में 50% हुए हैं, जो कि हमारे क्लियर करते हैं कि हमारे कंट्री में कितना चेंजेस हो रहे हैं और फैक्ट्स हमारे बहुत प्रॉपर्ली क्लियर भी हो जाते हैं.
Yeah. So more or less, I guess we have discussed about the nature of opposition, its definition and all. So now I would like to take the discussion in the current scenario of opposition in our country. So as we are all knowing that the current ruling party is having more than 2/3 of the majority in the upper house or in the Lok Sabha house.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there has been instances in a couple of last year that the government is launching a bill, and then it is the loopholes are being seen out after they are making the bills. So in this regard, I would like to say that although the opposition number is very small as compared to the previous tenure of something, so in that we can say that the opposition party, it needs to be more proactive. That doesn't seems to be active in the house, due to which the government is able to launch any program without enough brainstorming, according to me, and then they are further
even in the recent scenario, there were like five elections in five states. If you have seen that, we saw that only one state got other than the government party, otherwise 4 states got party where the ruling party is in majority. So this creates a situation where people this creates a worse situation going towards, because there's no opposition now. The previous opposition which was there, it is diluted, and there is no sort of exact opposition there.
Exactly.
I would like to add one more point, that if the ruling party is making a rule, and in that ruling party they do not have the proper representative against which they are making those rules. So opposition parties, if they are having some representatives, they have a say about that. They have at least that what they are feeling, what their community is feeling, and so those rules what ruling party is making, so gets into check, and they get into more into brainstorming, as Nikhil said, that they get
Yes, in the
more
parliament.
brainstorming like what things are going on and how things are differing, and they are not making like autocratic.
Yeah, so that is why I
Yeah,
mentioned
and they
that how
can.
the opposition party should also be proactive. And in my opinion, I must say that even if there is a single party which is in majority and forming the government, so the opposition should act wisely, because in India's scenario, there is not a single opposition party. There are multiple parties, regional
Hmm.
parties, and also national
And
parties.
they
So
don't get hold
yeah,
of the opposition
yeah.
because
So I
they
think
cannot be called opposition right now because they are
yeah,
not in
so I think they
that
should
many
act
numbers.
wisely and give a better
Hmm.
representative in the house, so that the representative can put the
Uh-huh.
opposition's voice
And,
wisely. And here also I would like to just put a small point, like to means the people elect the government, that is for sure in a democracy. But generally what happens, like in especially in India's case, we the people vote in a certain rather than the ideology, we believe in a party or a person, and then we like elect them. So at the same time, we also have the duty to elect a better opposition. So by saying this, I say that if in a locality there are two candidates, so we have to see, or we have to compare candidate wise rather than a party or face wise.
from
So
this,
that
I
would
would like
help
to
to
make a
constitute
point
a better
that
opposition.
if there won't be a opposition, so if there won't be a opposition, so people want actually, what opposition does is that opposition teaches political education to the society, the people. If there won't be any opposition, so there won't be any political education, and it leads to autocratic this government.
तो
So there.
जैसे हमें पता है
Yeah.
कि both opposition and ruling party both are elected by peoples, so they are doing for the people. So there is a healthy discussion, because sometimes ruling party are making some policies for the peoples. If opposition is not going to take part in that discussion, because sometimes opposition also give a good idea for the peoples. So having opposition's idea for the policies with the ruling party is very important for the peoples, because ultimately the ruling party and opposition party are doing for the peoples. They are doing for the peoples and their nation, that they क्या वो अपने लोगों के लिए क्या अच्छे से अच्छा कर सकते हैं, कौन सी पॉलिसी बना सकते हैं, उसके लिए दोनों का डिस्कशन होना बहुत जरूरी है. अगर अपोजिशन वहां पे एक्टिव पार्ट नहीं लेती है, तो समटाइम्स क्या होगा, जो भी रूलिंग पार्टी ने पीपल्स के लिए जो भी
वो
पॉलिसी
दबाने की
बनाई.
कोशिश करेगी एंड वो
यस.
जो मेन
सो
जो कुछ चीजें होती है पीपल्स की लिबर्टी है,
यस,
दे माइट लाइक नॉट एड्रेस देम बट मेक
एग्जैक्टली
पॉलिसीज.
एग्जैक्टली कभी कभी डिस्कशन से बहुत ही अच्छे आइडिया आ जाते हैं जो एक सिंगल पर्सन बनाता है. सो फॉर द डिस्कशन इन द पार्लियामेंट फॉर द अपोजिशन एंड रूलिंग पार्टी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द पीपल्स.
Yeah, so यहाँ पे एक मैं point add करना चाहूँगा, and I would also like to form an opinion at the same time by comparing opposition or two contemporaries. What should I say? Two contemporaries opposition party. So हमने सब हम जानते हैं कि एक हमारे बहुत ही अच्छे प्रधानमंत्री हैं भारत के, अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी. So we all know that उनका जो opposition का तरीका था, it is appreciated everywhere, and we must have seen instances like he has criticized right from the first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Nehru, and that too in a very cynical manner, means very intelligently. And उनका एक कथन भी एक बहुत फेमस है that कि मतभेद होना डेमोक्रेसी में जरूरी है, बट मनभेद नहीं होना चाहिए. So there lies the essence of opposition. I must say that matbhed means the difference in opinion, but not a difference in the what should I say, means personal differences. So that is the way. And अगर हम current opposition की बात करें, so in my opinion the current opposition it doesn't seem potent, means वो अपनी जो opposition की जो
I don't think so. There right now there is any opposition. It is just that they have parties, but not as an opposition. So they must come up with like forming a group as a opposition or something like that.
Yeah, that is why I
Otherwise,
said the opposition should act wisely and उन्हें एक बेहतर नेता चुनना चाहिए जो कि अपने पक्ष को जो opposition party है वो उसकी तरफ से
सिविल लिबर्टीज को वो रख सके सामने कि हाँ ये हमारे अधिकार हैं, these are the things we need.
एज ऑपोजिशन अभी जो प्रेसिडेंशियल इलेक्शंस होने वाले हैं उसमें सारी की ऑपोजिशन पार्टीज मिलके उन्होंने एक कैंडिडेट को रखा है अगेंस्ट वन रूलिंग पार्टी, ताकि ऐसा ना हो कि ऑटोक्रेटिक गवर्नमेंट बन जाए कि प्रेसिडेंट किसी भी उनके रूल्स पे साइन कर रहा है और उनके रूल्स पास हो रहे हैं। इसलिए अभी के हिसाब से मेरे हिसाब से ऑपोजिशन ने एक अच्छा रोल प्ले किया है कि अपनी तरफ से एक ऑपोजिशन में एक कैंडिडेट को रखें ताकि जो रूल्स बन रहे हैं उन पे भी वो लोग भी निगरानी रख पाएं और अच्छे से चीजें देख पाएं।
Yes, and I would like to agree on this point of Shubham. Like, yes, I was criticizing the current opposition, but yeah, this latest move of the opposition that they have elected a common presidential candidate, that is a good move, and you must appreciate this move of opposition. Because it will give a fair chance.
पॉइंट्स ऐड करना चाहती हूँ। अगर स्ट्रॉन्ग अपोजिशन नहीं होगा तो रूलिंग गवर्नमेंट पे कोई प्रेशर क्रिएट नहीं होगा। अगर स्ट्रॉन्ग अपोजिशन पार्टी है तो रूलिंग गवर्नमेंट को टाइम टू टाइम पता लगेगा कि हाँ उन्होंने क्या प्रॉमिसेस किए थे पीपल को। जिन लोगों ने उस रूलिंग पार्टी को चुना है तो टाइम टू टाइम अपोजिशन पार्टी उसको याद दिलाती रहेगी उनकी ड्यूटीज
याद दिलाएंगे।
And what I feel from discussing that we can't criticize the opposition party. We as a youngster, we should also contribute. I have seen like youngsters participating very less in politics. So I think we should also come up so that we can contribute and help in making any of the decision. So in these ways,
that there must be more. Yes, continue.
पोजीशन में हम यंगस्टर्स भी पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं, जैसे कि सोशल मीडिया में ट्विटर्स के थ्रू हम लोग भी पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं। कुछ ऐसे लैक्स जो चीजें लैकिंग हो रही हैं गवर्नमेंट में हम लोग भी बता रहे हैं।
voice also can come up and form the voice of opposition party also.
Yeah, that is why often media is also termed as the third pillar of democracy. So yeah, I would like to also agree on this point also, that people can also sometimes act as opposition in a democracy.
But now from there I got a point that when there is a government in majority, then it also controls the third pillar, which leads to the autocratic. Because if the government is controlling the media, then there won't be anyone to criticize or ask questions or something like that.
Okay, so I think now we can conclude the session. We can conclude the session.
So,
one of you can do that.
Yeah, I would like to conclude the session on behalf of my fellow discussion members. So we have come to a conclusion that yes, an opposition is a part and parcel of a democracy, and it is a very important aspect of a democracy for its better functioning and to maintain checks on the government functioning as well. So I would like to conclude this, that presence of better opposition can make the people's life easy, make them understand government's policies, the better points, and also its loopholes at the same time. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so let me give you the now feedback of this entire your participation. I must say that some of you have spoken. That is good. I think you have discussed this. And democracy is one of the very important topic, because we are the largest democracy in the world. You should also have some of the important points related to democracy. These GDs which we are conducting, they will be available on YouTube. You can do your self-analysis of discussion. You can do that, and you can see where you lack and where there is a scope of improvement. Listen to that, and the end when I'm giving this inputs, you can maintain a copy and you can write that in the copy. So whether it is like definition of the democracy which Rajni gave, I think Rajni said democracy is defined as rule of the people, for the people, by the people, statement given by Abraham Lincoln, or whether it is some another information which you are providing, as Nikhil said, it is not third, it is a fourth pillar, I suppose. Three pillars already we have of democracy, that is legislature, executive, and judiciary. So the fourth pillar can be opposition, fourth pillar can be media. That is how they call it. So you need to have some inputs. Now India is the largest democracy in terms of number of voters. China is more populous than India, but that is not a democracy. Oldest democracy is America, the largest democracy is India. We are largest democracy in terms of numbers. Our voter 18 years plus can vote in India. Number we have, but we are not a mature democracy, that we should know. Why we say we are not mature? Because illiteracy level is very high in India. India still is divided in caste, in communities, in a region, in religions. We vote on those parameters. We don't vote on the parameters on which we should vote for the right candidate. There is a reason we may say that we are not a mature democracy actually, but you are not to use this term this way. That is a criticism of our democratic system. But so far, democracy has been a successful experiment in India. It has failed in countries like Pakistan, which were created at the same time. But in India, we have survived thanks to our constitution. Now, constitution is the main law of our land. There is a main law. And 26 January 1950, we became a republic and we adopted this democratic system for our country. Now, the beauty of democratic system is that it's the rule of people. But there 100 crore plus people cannot directly, make up policies for them. So we are a representative type of democracy. The third tier, that is a Panchayati Raj, is not representative, that is our direct democracy. But other two tiers, that is in the center parliament and legislative assemblies, they are representative democracies. That means our representative, MLA and MP, they will make the policies for us, they will fight on behalf of us, they will debate, they will discuss, they will criticize, and they will talk. अगर मेरे को कोई criticism करना है किसी policy का, like Agnipath, I am not happy. So it is not me who should burn the train. It is my representative, my MLA and MP, who should go in the legislative assembly and ask the government this question of why this policy has come. That is the beauty of democracy. So that opposition in the democracy. So that is how it has to be. So the best point could have been that, friends, the topic for the discussion today is lack of opposition in democracy. Lack of opposition in democracy makes government autocratic. Friends, I fully agree with the statement. To make the democracy healthy, the opposition should be there. And not only opposition should be there, opposition should be strong. Government should be strong, opposition should also be strong. So we should define what is the meaning of strong democracy. And then, friends, we should also talk more on what criticism of opposition, what are the main roles and responsibilities of the opposition, how the opposition helps to make the democracy more strong, and what are the main duties of opposition, what is criticism, constructive criticism, and what criticism should not be there, and whether it is opposition or it is a ruling party, everybody should work for the welfare of people and for the welfare of the country. Now I open the house for the discussion. After that, friends, you will say what is the strong democracy. Now we can give the numbers. In India, if I talk about parliament, it has two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha has 545 MP, which are elected members. Rajya Sabha election is there, but there is not a direct election. It is our representative elect further the members of Rajya Sabha, and the number is 252 as per constitution. Now let's talk to Lok Sabha, the main house which is responsible for making government. I mean Prime Minister, and the government is formed on the basis of the general election which are conducted after 5 years. Now, whichever political party gets 273 plus number, there is a magic number 273, they make the government. Now the next party gets the status of opposition party. Now think of, in the constitution it is written that 10% of the total number of seats, that is 545 ka 10%, 55 number should be there to become the leader of opposition. Now in the previous Lok Sabha and maybe this one also, Congress was the largest political party, but they were not having even 10% of the seats. Now, what is the meaning of that? That means the government will not even listen to the opposition. If the number is very less, government will not even be bothered about the opposition. And that is what can happen if the opposition is not strong. Now, let's give the example, friends. Government is making the laws, like farm laws. Farm laws are made, but government was forced to withdraw it. Why? Because of the agitation of the people. So that situation should not come, because that is a huge loss for the country. Government, people should not come on the roads. I mean, this activity should be done by the opposition. Now think of this. If the government does not listen to the opposition, then government will be forced to listen to the people on the street. We have seen that case in the farm laws, and maybe in the Agnipath, people are burning the trains. Why that situation has come? If the government, before making policy, will not consider the opinion of MPs from every state, from opposition parties, and government in its own mindset of majority will make the policies without discussion, then opposition will be seen on the roads. That is not good for the government either. National property is wasted. That is not for the healthy democracy. That is not good thing. On the other hand, the opposition should do constructive criticism. Opposition should not do the criticism for the sake of criticism. Opposition should see that if some policy or rule is made for the betterment of the country, then opposition should also aware the positive things about that policy. Opposition should not basically come out with the agenda that we are to oppose every decision of government. Maybe it is good for country, because people, obviously, if 50% people have voted for government, 50% have not voted for a government. So people are to be told by opposition party what is good for the country. Suppose form laws are good for country, it was the duty and responsibility of the opposition to tell people about the better part of this policy. Then government will not be forced to withdraw, because people may not agitate, people may not oppose. No, that means maintaining a good relation in the parliament is the responsibility of the government also. Like I think Nikhil said, as our earlier Prime Minister said, Vajpayee said, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he said, matbhed hona chahiye, manbhed nahi hona chahiye. I mean, difference of opinion has to be there. It should be respected. But that does not mean you become enemies. Your opposition party does not mean your enemy. You should have respect for each other. You know, the first Lok Sabha 1952 when it was constituted, the first law minister was Bhimrao Ambedkar. He was the biggest critic of Indian National Congress. He was not in Indian National Congress. The Prime Minister was Nehru, Indian National Congress. But he wanted the most learned fellow to be law minister. He was given responsibility to make the constitution. Now that kind of thing is required in our country. I mean, if you are in opposition party, you are not my enemy. You have difference of opinion. Subhash Chandra Bose had difference of opinion with Gandhiji. Bhagat Singh had difference of opinion with Gandhiji. They had difference of opinion, but they had great respect for one another. That is the reason we won the independence. Now it should not be that our representatives are fighting like cats and dogs. They should actually respect the difference of opinion. We want to see the case where opposition party is standing and praising government's policies. And we want to see where government is asking the opposition, please give your points before we make the policy. Now, if this thing is not there, we are sufferer. Democracy is sufferer. And this great nation, which was made by the people who had difference of opinion, but the common agenda, that country will shatter actually. After so much effort, we have created it, we will go back to the same situation. It's not good for healthy democracy. Today, the world sees towards us. World sees the largest democracy in successful mode. But we should make it sustainable. We should not basically make it fail. Our experiment should not fail. So yes, opposition should be strong and opposition should be respected. It is a responsibility of government also, and it is a responsibility of opposition also, that they should come above their personal agendas, personal political agendas, and they should think of country first. First country comes, then comes the political party, then comes individual fellow. It should not be that my interest is first, then comes my community's interest, then comes my political party's interest, then comes the country at the end. It should not be that way. Any great nation is a great nation because the people in that country think of that country first. Don't think about them first. This is how we have to go for it. No, anyhow, then you can always give the examples of political, as I give you the example of, some laws, the criticism was there and all these things, you can give those examples. But keep one thing in mind when you give some examples, it should not look like that you are biased for particular government or you are biased for particular thing. You should give very unbiased opinion. When you say something, you should give unbiased opinion. You are going to be a public official, you are going to be civil servants, you are going to be government officials. You need to maintain your unbiased nature, right? So Nikhil talked about current Indian political system. He said we talked about Indian political system. He said awareness should be spread. Check and balance should be there. The role of opposition is like a brake. Check and balance has to be there. Government, if does not listen to others, then if single party is in majority, they will become autocratic. That is what we are observing in India as of now. And the repercussions are also seen that if government will not respect the opposition, opposition will create trouble for the government. Understand that. And ultimate sufferer will be the people of India. And the tragedy in our country as of now is people are not much aware about the things. Illiteracy is very high. So we are still in the very fragile state of evolution. We are still evolving, and unity in diversity should be there. Difference in diversity should not be there. We should start respecting differences, whether it is on the basis of thinking, or it is on the basis of the caste, or it is on the basis of the religion, or it is on the basis of region. I cannot say, no, I hate this fellow because he's from different state. I'm from Haryana, he's from Uttar Pradesh. I hate this fellow only because he's from different state. I should not say that he's from this caste and I hate him. I should not say he's from this religion, so I hate him. So any particular thing which divides us is not good for us. We need to understand that. This country will be divided if divisive policies are coming forward for the benefit of political parties or for the benefit of the people. That is not good. Bhupender said, okay, but if there is no opposition, he started asking that question. What if government becomes autocratic? That is how Bhupender started discussing and all. He participated. So Nikhil, Bhupender, Shubham, and Randhir, these people started in the beginning. Nikhil and Shubham were talking to one another for quite a long time, and then Bhupender entered. So all of you should speak. Actually, that is a good thing. Shubham said single government should not be there. So he said good in the introduction also, Shubham. If you are first in the class, you may be in the wrong class. That kind of things. These kind of punch lines help you. That is okay, but then you should explain the meaning of these lines, because many of people will not understand what is the meaning of that line, and you should not use any punch line unnecessarily. It should have a meaning, then only you should speak it. Shubham talked well, but in the introduction part, your content should have been better. Shubham, you should have talked more about the topic. Randhir said, okay, it helps the people. Opposition is important, and he said that opposition parties have a responsibility. They should not criticize government for the sake of criticism. That is the stand he took. Rajani defined the democracy. She said, what is the democracy all about? That always you can do, and then you can always mention about the opposition and all. Rajani participated in between. Deepti also said that ruling parties, they should not keep moving in the single direction, no opposition. Then we can't point out the weaknesses of the government. So to tell the government what are the weaknesses, opposition should be there. Prabhu also gave the idea of opposition is good for a ruling party, because whatever ideas the opposition gives, that is good for ruling party, because they can make the rules properly. And when people come on streets for agitation against your rules, that means you have not done your homework properly. And it is very easy to do your homework if you listen to opposition in the discussion, because for making any rule or any policy in the country, debate should be done in the parliament. And there's a reason for that. When you do the debate in the parliament, their representative will tell what is the problem in that. And government will get to know the feeling of the people. If you make a rule without knowing the feeling of the people, it will become autocratic actually. That means you don't pay the heed. You don't even listen to people. Let them go. We have majority, will make it. Whatever I want to do, I will do it. That should not be done. Opposition should be taken into consideration. So this government is being criticized for that also. That you take the decision very hurriedly, whether it is a decision of demonetization, or it's a decision of Article 370, or it is a decision of this farm bills, or it is a decision of now this thing. So hurriedly decision may be taken in urgency, maybe it will helpful for the country, but not making these kind of decision always in hurriedly. Discussion should be there. Parliament is meant for debate and discussion, that should be there. So that is how I think this is. But yes, you people should participate more so that practice is done. So all from my side, anything you want to say? Okay, so I think you should practice. You guys should practice because a lot of practice is required for you to come to that level. Still that level is not there. पढ़ो और participate करो, मेहनत करो. देखो मेहनत यहाँ जो होती है ना, ये जो मेहनत होती है, मेरी मेहनत होती है, आपकी नहीं होती है. This is my effort, not your effort. Your effort will be when you read it, when you listen at room, you read it, you write in the copy. That is your effort. You do that. Enhance your knowledge. Listen to many GDs. Practice. Speak. Try to speak. And the format and template for introduction. Do that, and then come prepared for discussion. And when you come here, participate it. Then I'll give you feedback. I'll give you a topic. I'll arrange it, and then again you listen that where you made the mistake and do it. So if you don't do effort at home, even if you do 20 GDs with me, your level will not increase. यहाँ के बाद अगर तुम जाके कुछ नहीं कर रहे हो, तो भाई improvement नहीं होगा. That will not lead to any benefit to you, right? So do that and gauge your performance accordingly. So I'll catch you tomorrow for GDs, right?